So you get pictures of your boobs?
Push Z to poop.
The first person that asked for pictures of my boobs is getting pictures of my boobs.
I would have eaten that donut.
What's the haps, guys and dolls of Craft Gaming, and a special hello to our YouTube audience out there. I'm Stray Cat James, better known as Talos here at Craft Gaming, and welcome back to CRFTcenter. It's a talk show where we take a handful of topics and discuss them. Now, unlike our first two episodes in this series, this episode will not be revolving all around one game. All of our topics don't necessarily link together, and that'll actually kind of become the norm with this series as time goes on, although we will continue to have topics that focus on one game at a time, but for the most part we'll have whatever's on our mind, not necessarily gaming related and all that. So today we have a multitude of topics to get into, and we'll go through them as we go. And as normal, we'll have our today's panel introduce themselves, so you know who's talking.
Yeah, hi. Well, I'm Red. I'm one of the other owners of Craft Gaming, here with the rest of the guys, and we guys and gals, I should say, and I'll be putting my 2 cents worth, whatever it's worth, in, and we'll discuss these certain topics that are coming up now. And it always has going first.
Hi, I'm Kashta. I'm also a member of Craft Gaming community and do a little work on the website. And here just to talk to you today about a couple topics with my buddies here.
And I'm Mab. I'm the social media manager of gaming, and I'm also here to just chat about some stuff.
Well put. Chat about some stuff. Well, as always,
Yep.
guys, I have neglected to in the past, but thanks for taking the time to be here and be on our panel and represent Craft Gaming for our discussion today. Now,
He's nice, isn't he nice?
Oh, I just pretend. It's only because the camera's on. You guys should see me without the camera off. So before we actually get rolling into some of the topics I had laid out, as you guys know, I'm a big fan of Bethesda games altogether, but particularly Fallout. I thought we'd kind of just talk about, I think you guys have all seen the Fallout trailer, correct?
Yeah, I have. Yeah,
Yep.
Good, actually.
Yep.
Yeah, so
Sure
I
have.
was just, for those of you watching, I'll warn you ahead of time, I'm extremely biased when it comes to Bethesda, particularly the Elder Scrolls and Fallout. That doesn't make me blind to their bugs and failure to launch kind of style stuff. They've definitely had their issues, and I make no excuses there. But Elder Scrolls is an awesome game, love it, but I am a Fallout guy, so I'm very biased when it comes to this Fallout 4 coming out, but I'll say I'm very, very excited. But not necessarily as an official discussion, but what do you guys think about it? What were your thoughts?
Well, I've played Fallout 3. I liked it a lot. I didn't really get into it, but I had no problems with the gameplay, I had no problems with the graphics. Some people say the graphics aren't great, but they're fantastic. They're definitely adequate. They're good as gold. And end of the day, if they increase the graphics to the almost, what's the word, photo-like quality, then it's gonna drag your computer down big time.
Mm-hmm.
But from what I've seen of my gameplay on Fallout 3 and the trailer of Fallout 4, I think they're well worth getting. I really do. Although, saying that, I'm in the Southern Hemisphere, down in New Zealand, and our price for Fallout 4 is $99.95, so that's a big price.
That's
Yeah, I
steep.
know.
That's steep.
Very, very. So
Okay.
I would consider it, I would really look at a game. I wouldn't buy it instantly. I'd look at a game and see if it was really worth it to spend that sort of money.
Well, now I feel like we're getting a deal. So
Yeah.
I like Fallout. I've played it before. I really enjoy it. It's got a lot of the things you enjoy about other games, upgradable weapons, a good storyline too. And what I really liked about the trailer, there's not a ton of gameplay in that trailer, or any really, but you get sort of the story and you know what's going on for all of the Fallouts. But I'm really excited about it. I love the gameplay. I think it's great. You could play it by yourself and have as much fun as playing with somebody else too.
Yeah, I think trailer they organised it the fact that if you've gone to Fallout 4, you've played at least or seen at least enough Fallout beforehand and roughly know the backstory. I think that's why they didn't do much gameplay, etc. So I think they'd assume that you'd roughly know what it was kind of like. So yeah, that looks really exciting. It really does.
Agreed.
Mab, any thoughts?
Um, well, I mean, pretty much what everybody else said. I think that it looks really great, just sort of what Brad said about how, although they may not have the most top-end graphics, I don't really think that's the point. I know a lot of people might complain about that. But I think when you have such a large world, and especially when it comes to the style of the world itself being so post-apocalyptic, it's kind of hard to um, put those sorts of graphics into it and not kind of bog down the gameplay or
Well, yeah,
make it laggy. So I would
it's
rather
so
have
open
the
world
good
too.
gameplay. Yeah, have the good gameplay than have the better graphics, in my opinion. And I think that
Uh,
it looks really fun, and I'm pretty excited about it.
I
Looks
say
fun.
Yeah,
let
and
the
that brings
modding
up.
community worry about the
Sorry, mate.
upping the graphics a bit. Anyway, they usually do an awesome job of it as it is.
Yeah.
Well, that's just it. I mean, any software developer, especially Bethesda, as another one, can develop a game that's got fantastic graphics, but it forces everyone to have really high-end computers, and it drops out the market for them people that
Yeah.
just have the average computer. They're doing the best thing they can, and the graphics I have seen, there's no complaints about them whatsoever.
Yeah, I'm a little confused
Mm-mm.
on. I know that the complaints are out there, but I'm a little confused by them because I actually think the graphics were fine. I mean, one of the things I'll say on the trailer, and I'll move on because we got more to actually talk about. One of the things I thought was kind of cool about the trailer, or that is, I like the what is that kind of tried and tested advertising kind of a deal. They had a cool little. They made it that last little note, that last taste on your tongue of the main character having a voice. Now, whether they actually do it in the game or not, that's a whole different thing. But it was kind of cool the way they did that because that's, I mean,
Yeah, they didn't
Skyrim,
previously,
Fallout, they've
did
never
they?
done that. It could just be a,
Mm-hmm.
advertising thing, and it works. But that's an interesting thing. Anyway, I don't as much as I'm sure we'll talk about Fallout. When it comes out, I'm sure we'll do a craft theater thing, a craft center. Getting my series mixed up.
Definitely, yeah.
And obviously Casey must be in on that one since he's a Fallout fanatic as well.
Absolutely.
So let's go ahead and move on to the first thing I wanted to talk about, and this is something that's been talked about a lot of, there's articles all over the places, a lot of communities will talk about it, a lot of other YouTube channels have covered this, but it's one of those things I think we can't talk about enough because it'd be nice to get more of a voice out to developers and CEOs of these companies who are deciding to make these calls. And I'm talking about microtransactions in gaming. And I think it's a good thing to bring up given the fact that like the most recent example of a AAA game that came out is Mortal Kombat X, at least the most recent I can think of. And they had some plenty of microtransactions in there. I think for the most part people feel it's problematic and it's a little scary as to what game developers will do, how they implement it in the future and how much they implement it in the future. But that's just some food for thought to get you started. But microtransactions, you got the floor, guys.
Yeah,
Um,
sorry, you
go,
ladies
go
first.
ahead.
I
No, you
basically,
go ahead.
I detest them. I reckon they're basically, pardon the expression, bullshit. You spend money on a game and you go into the game and they just keep adding extra things. And normally it's free to play, and that's why they do it free to play. So you get in there, you get hooked with the game, and then to win, you've got to buy the gear to actually advance on further.
Yeah.
But I see that I go back to Ark for a second, the one coming out. They have categorically denied they're ever going to do any microtransactions because I think the community in general, all gamers in general, are getting bloody sick of them. They really are. You want to pay a certain one-up fee for the game, even if it is early access, which Ark is, and that's it forever. You don't pay any more. As they develop the game, you've invested in the company or helped them develop by putting the upfront cost. And why then should you pay later as they develop the game up? It's not right. I will personally not enter into microtransactions. I'll play the free-to-plays, but when it comes to the microtransaction part, I just jump off the game and that's it. I'll just go somewhere else, play something else because I think it's just a rip. It really is.
And I mean, I think that's a good example of because we've seen like the birth of microtransactions was I think arguably in like the mobile games like on your phone, and then like you said in the free-to-play games, but we're starting to see them now more and more in our our AAA games, our Mortal Kombat X's, our Call of Duties or whatever. I think they've got
Exactly.
microtransactions.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
a scary thing for the future.
Well, you don't know where it's going to stop. And the point is, especially on early access, I mean, you are helping fund them
Right.
develop something that you hope will develop into a big game. You're taking the risk, the same as developers are, but you're taking the risk because at the end of the day, we have seen a lot of games out there, Rust being one, where
Yep.
they're not developing much at all. It's kind of almost gone stagnant. And so to pay a one-up fee, you're taking the risk by paying that fee,
Sure.
then hopefully no more. But when they keep adding to it and adding to it and adding to it, you start to think, is this worthwhile? And you're too far committed to jump out. You've invested in the game. You've got bases or whatever the game might be. You've got infrastructure set up in the game. And you kind of have to keep doing these microtransactions to actually see where it evolves. And it's a bit unfair, I think. It really is.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree, and I think part of that too is it is. I think it's an acceptable model with this for games. You're not only buying the game, but you've console or you've bought, on the console ones, the Xbox or whatever. It's completely unacceptable. I mean, I agree with Brad that I certainly won't buy a game where the only way to win or fully play is I've got to keep paying out all this extra money. I'm just not going to play that game. And something that I have kind of seen, a comment I'd seen that I agree with is if the model is these microtransactions in the games, in the console games or whatever, you're intentionally designing a bad game, for anyone who's not paying the extra. And it's just not acceptable. And I think there's enough gamers that are just not going to do that. And the other sort of argument that I saw or rationalization for it is, I talk about development and marketing for games and how much more expensive that's become.
Right.
But to me, that means they need to have more creativity and use technology wisely in their development and marketing to address those costs, not just nickel and diming people or just straight passing that off. It seems like with the development of the game, technology helps them too. Marketing strategies come out too. It's not everything
Exactly.
is dollar to the people.
Not to go onto a Bethesda buff again, but since you were saying that, first of all, so far, at least in the Elder Scrolls and the Fallouts, I don't keep track of every single game they have, but I've never seen microtransactions going on with them. And one of those things you were thinking about as far as using technology or using things to their advantage is Bethesda's been really awesome about supporting their modding community and all that. And talking about money-wise, that gets people to continue playing the game or continue buying the games. I like, Kashta, you said that passing the buck and passing a straight pass off of the expenses shouldn't go straight to the gamers.
No, I understand there's fees involved in developing a game, and developers have to get paid while they're trying to develop the game, but
Right.
That's what early access is a relatively new thing. You wouldn't see early access years ago. It's a relatively new thing that people are saying, hey, invest in our game by buying it now, and we'll mod and develop it. Expect bugs because it's going to happen, this sort of thing, and people accept that. They don't necessarily like it. They play it, and they pay their money to see it develop as it comes up. But then to be whacked with microtransactions within the game, that just hits a raw nerve. It really does.
That's a bad one. That's
And I'm pleased to see that some software developers are moving away from that now totally. Even when they are interviewed from day one, the owners and developers saying, no, we will never be doing that. And they bring that up because they know it's a raw nerve in the community. Mm-hmm. And I think you're going to see with a lot, the trend is going to develop, but that goes away. You're not going to get microtransactions because players just had enough of it and they're talking with their feet. They're just moving away and buying other games.
Yeah. Well, and I'm glad.
The only other thing.
Okay, you're good.
The only other thing I thought about is one of the earlier episodes that we had talked about when we were talking about WoW and what's going to be, what's the next Blizzard or what would Blizzard down. These are the kinds of things, if you have a company, whoever, Bethesda, whatever, if you have a company that really stays true to it and a lot of other companies start going towards the microtransactions, the companies that avoid these are going to gain the gamer loyalty, get all the gamer dollars, and somebody who's going to be big has to be aware of that, I think.
Well, yeah,
What I think's happening, and it's a little bit older than most of the gamers, is when these initially started coming out, and even before that, the average gaming level has now increased, and you get people in their 20s and 30s who game now, and they become loyal to software developers, such as you tell us with Bethesda. Oh, can we say the damn name? Sorry, software company, what have you. You know what they're bringing out, you know their style, and you like it, and this is starting to develop a loyalty, and a lot of people are getting loyal to not necessarily games, but the developers are bringing these games out. And I think they're starting to see that microtransactions are ruining that particular relationship people are starting to develop with the software companies.
But and there's different levels of to dig specifically in a specific area of microtransactions or whatever. Something that annoys me also, because there's a fine line between that, or at least there's starting to become this gray area between that and downloadable content. I'm all for DLC. Again, Bethesda, I think they do awesome DLC that actually has a massive amount of content most of the time. And a lot of other games do great with that. But bringing up Mortal Kombat X, which, by the way, is a great game. I'm not trying to knock the game, but the microtransactions and the things that are in there, I don't remember how much it is, but I'm pretty sure there's a buy easy finishing moves or whatever. I think you like hold a button and hit another button, you can do the finishing moves easier, and it costs a certain amount of money to have that unlocked. Crap like that does not belong in a fighter game or in any game really. But the one thing that really, like, you're talking, it's a nerve, and it's kind of like microtransactions are kind of like a middle finger to the community, and of course that doesn't build loyalty and customer loyalty. I don't care what you're doing, you're a mechanic, you're whatever it is, you need customer loyalty, especially as the economy gets worse or better for that matter, whatever. But the biggest thing that drives me nuts, and Mortal Kombat I'm using as an example here, but it's not the only one, is, like, for example, Goro. Goro is in the game. You buy this copy, right? You buy the game, and he's on there. His code is in there. He's a fully functioning character that you fight in the game. Yet, to be able to play as him, I have to buy it. And it's not just that I'm buying something that I then have to download, like, Jason or whatever, something like that. I'm assuming you have to download him. But it's you give me an unlock. And I hate that. That, to me, is a big freaking middle finger right up there with microtransactions, is the paying for an unlock. Ubisoft does it with their Assassin's Creed things, like I think they call them time savers or something like that. Like with Black Flag, I think they had something where you pay like $3 or something like that, and you could upgrade your pirate ship earlier than you would be able to later. That kind of crap just drives me nuts. And I think Ubisoft's kind of gotten a bad name, frankly, for a number of reasons, and I think that's one of them, really. So like you're talking about, Brad, customer loyalty, it impacts it. And I think you're onto something, Brad. I think that we are starting to see developers seeing that and recognizing that. What I'm curious about is, at like these bigger companies, are executives and CEOs seeing that? Because typically they seem to be awful blind to what the gaming community actually wants, or what gamers really want.
Oh, I think they'll see it when the revenues start to drop. And what happens is, as these software companies stay around longer and longer, people start playing more and more in their games, they get used to their style. And when they start altering the style and doing microtransactions or things like that, people think, well, I've had enough. You guys this is not what you do. What happened to one of those games recently where people didn't like the ending? There's so much hoo-ha, they had to rewrite the damn ending, because some of these developers now are really starting to look at the customers and what they want.
Oh, you're talking about
at the end of the
Mass
day,
Effect 3?
Mass Effect.
Yes, exactly. And at the end of the day, we, as consumers and customers, keep these guys afloat. We are their meal ticket. So if we don't like what's happening, we won't buy their games. And as I said, this game coming out now, Fallout 4, for me to buy it, it's $99.95. That's a lot of money for one game. You times it by a few million people, that's a lot of money. So they have to be very careful how they market the game, how the game runs. They're allowing modding, etc. And quite a few of these ones out now. So a lot of these developers now are embracing the public, are embracing the fact, yes, you can do this with the game. And it's very nice to see. It is really nice to see, because they want to be there for the long haul. And if they don't do this, what I'm trying to get at is, a lot of these developers who are marketing companies, they're in business, they try and dictate to the market, this is the way the game's going to be. Right. At the end of the day, though, as consumers, we dictate how the game's going to be, because if you don't design it or build it to the stage that we like it, we
Yeah.
won't buy it and you won't exist. And a lot of them are starting to see that now, and it's pleasing to see.
I think they too. I think they too. When you look at the executives and whatever, and certainly with any company, think about where you work or whatever. There's you've got to make a profit. You've got to have a revenue. But I definitely think pretty much all companies are doing something somebody is doing, so they're looking for what differentiates us. What makes us different than the other companies, and they're gonna. But you also leverage what similar companies are doing that work really well, and I think it goes across
Exactly, yeah.
industries, and I would think it goes to speaks to gaming industry too. So the executives they've got to turn a profit, and I don't know of a company where an executive doesn't have some sort of bonus tied into things doing well.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So I think that our money does talk. I think it will.
Yep.
Oh, I think it has to. I used to dislike the subscriptions, such as WoW, such as Eve, this sort of thing. Oh, how dare they charge it? But when you look at it nowadays, it's a very honest way of doing it. Hey, you want to play our game, we'll to keep developing and bringing new things on, and it's going to cost you X amount a month. It's all up front. You know what you're going to be charged.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily like doing that, but there's nothing hidden. But microtransactions, I think, is dirty pool. That gets you involved, and then you've got to keep adding this and adding that. You got no idea whether there's 2 microtransactions in the game or 200. You just don't know as you go through.
Yep.
And so it's a very unsure way of playing, and
It's
people
shady
just have
business.
enough of it.
I mean, it feels like shady
Agree.
business.
I think that's the key.
Yeah.
That's a really good point. It feels dishonest. It feels like we're being cheated. Something's wrong.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I agree. That's a good.
All right.
And
Well, oh,
I
go ahead.
definitely, I definitely agree with all that. I just want to add one thing is that, the only thing that really, it wouldn't bug me so much, maybe if it was just not so much the things where they're cheating you out of things, or you have to have this to complete the game, or you have to have this to do certain things, or to save you time and whatnot, but just things that are, what are they called? Like, I just totally blanked. Appearance items.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
you like something and you like this gun, like camos in popular shooter games, or, oh, your character, you like this hairstyle, but here's all
Yeah.
these different colors. Like, okay, if you want to look different and you want to pay $1 to have something purple or green, then that's fine, but I don't see the point in adding all the other ridiculous
And I
things.
think that's kind of what I meant by there's a fine line between that. Mass Effect, bringing that up again, they had alternate appearance packs and weapon packs, and I like those. I was actually okay with those, but it is a fine line, and but I still
Right.
feel like there's a
I mean-
clear difference between getting a weapons pack or a camo pack or an outfit pack versus buy this and you can do something, you can unlock attachments for the gun earlier than you would normally, or whatever. I think there's definitely a clear
Exactly.
difference between those. Anyway, I got to move
Yeah, well,
us
it's
along.
basically a pay to win, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And this next one, I'm going to ask Mr. Tongbom and Kashta here to kind of lead the charge on this one, and Brad and I will respectfully put our opinions in. And this one is, it's one of those things that I feel like it shouldn't be like a thing to talk about, an eggshell sort of thing, but it is. And some people have issues with it, and so we'll talk about it here. And that is, if you two will represent, at least here at Craft, the voice of female gamers, or at least your input. Both of you had played games quite a bit of your life, so you've certainly had a lot of experience with that.
Okay, I'll start.
Okay.
I think the thing that you and I hear from other females that play is the first thing is that your gender is more prominent than your playing ability, good, better, and different. It's something you see first. If you see a gamer, she's bad, it's okay. Oh yay, girls, it's a girl. If she's good, I guess she's good, but that's not your focus. She better be damn good for you to notice their playing ability. I think that's kind of the first thing that I noticed. And Mab, do you kind of see the same thing?
Yeah, no, I definitely do. I feel like, there are so many girl gamers out there. I don't have any statistics in front of me. I don't, I haven't read up on this at all. But it has to be even by now. At this point in the gaming industry and how far technology has come and the way the generations have changed their views on gaming and how accessible it is now,
Mhm.
I mean, between guy players and girl players, I am sure that it has to be even, but they still don't treat it that way. They still treat it like the stereotype of back in the 80s or 90s when maybe they were always marketing video games towards boys because they thought, girls, they like Barbies and dolls, and they just kind of
Right.
stuck with that same stereotype. And I think that they need to kind of branch off from that and stop trying to. I mean, even today, most games don't even have like um, girl avatars like Fallout does and Skyrim does,
Oh
but
yeah, where you can play as a
shooter
female.
games, I think what until like a year or two ago, there
Well,
wasn't even like any
Call of Duty's probably the
like Call of
worst, or
Duty
the
didn't
biggest example of someone who was so late on that
like
damn bandwagon.
there are girl soldiers, there are tons of girl military, like what the heck? Why can't we be a girl and kick ass? Like why are they not putting that into their game? I mean, we're here,
And
right?
look at Fem
Yeah,
Shepard. Fem
I was
Shepard was a badass.
playing I just I was just playing a game. I can't remember which one it was. It was this, and I created this character. I was like, ew, I'm a boy. I don't want to be a boy.
And it's just so silly
No offense,
because
guys.
there are
Right,
so
right.
many
This is
guys who
undertaken.
hate playing as female avatars, and there
Yeah.
are plenty of guys who do like playing as female avatars, but we don't have a choice. We're
Mhm.
stuck being boys about 80% of the time. So when I get to be a girl, I make a girl because that's something different for me. Whether,
Yep.
like I get excited when I see that option.
And
I
I
would
think
Yeah,
a
too.
but
little bit, and I know that's not our topic, but a little bit when we talk about gender, um,
Hmm.
gender in today's society is a lot more gray area. There's a lot where you really should pick whatever it. You should have that option to pick those. Pick
yeah, yeah.
um,
Oh yeah.
any character you want to play.
Yeah. These days.
Yeah, but this is historic though. I think. I mean, you're talking when gamers first came out, especially shoot 'em ups, this sort of thing. It was boy orientated, boys with guns, this
Yep.
sort of thing, and so it was
Yep.
always boy, male, and at least, I mean, you say that you think the female male mix is roughly 50-50. This sort of thing, well, should be 50. There's nowhere near that. I don't think. I don't think as many female gamers as you think there are. I think there's quite few. Because it's a male thing. And well, I'm going from my experience, it tends to be a male thing. If you find a female gamer, most males go, great, yeah, well done, especially if you have a girlfriend or partners into it as well. It's absolutely fantastic. And yeah, they are starting to come out now that they're doing male-female characters on the new games now. A lot of them still aren't, but I agree with that. It should be male-female characters because basically it's sexist otherwise. You have to play as a male.
Mm.
Well, yeah, and it comes down
And
to
I think
the
that
not
no,
marketing to both sexes very well.
I think
agreed,
what's
agreed.
interesting and kind of and I'm gonna just tell you the kind of stories, just my experiences playing that, and I did look at a couple of. There's tons of research on gender studies
Mhm.
in total, but in games as well. The numbers are actually getting more closer to equal,
I thought they
or
were.
more in that way. But so I'm playing a game, and when I'm playing and talking about if I'm not playing with a gaming community, I'm playing on my own in an online experience, and things that have happened to me are they know you're a girl. There's just like a normal conversation, then all of a sudden they're following me around saying, "Send me a picture of your boobs,"
Mhm.
and or something like that. There's something that if I and good God, if I don't, you're a bitch or whatever. And so you
Hmm.
basically have three ways to handle this if you're a female. Um, you can just kind of laugh it off, and just ignore them, or you can kind of fight back. But from my experience, that doesn't go well.
Mhm.
And usually, I just laugh it off or just ignore them. So what I see, and a lot of times, the female players will either have a male character,
Mhm. Yeah, I've
don't
seen that a
use the
lot.
voice thing, they'll
Hmm.
play chat. So
Oh
you're
yeah.
kind of you make yourself sort of invisible from that, just to sort of have that protection. Um, Now the opposite experience is when I'm playing with Craft Gaming, when I'm playing in our guild and I'm playing with the people I know, then I can kind of be more
Yeah.
I don't use the word normal because it shouldn't be like that, but then I can talk to people and it's not a big deal, and I feel
Right.
like
It's more natural.
I can just immerse in yes, I can immerse naturally in the game. But just the things you hear, and just, I mean, it's not everybody, but it's playing by myself on an online thing. If my voice is in there, or if it's clear that I'm female, something's going to happen almost every time. I mean, and it's not.
Yeah,
I just
I
ignore it and go
definitely
whatever.
agree with that, because when I had my PS name as like kind of a gender neutral name where, it could be a boy or a girl, I never, 90% of the time, nothing ever happened. People would leave me alone. But then I decided a couple years ago that I wanted to be Miss Atomic Bomb,
Oh
and
yeah.
that just set off a whole shit fire,
Oh my god, you had
basically,
like friend
of
requests every fucking day, like 8 of them.
every 5 seconds. Okay, still a couple weeks ago when I was playing Call of Duty with some of my friends,
Well, that was your
it was just
mistake
like
right
every
there.
single lobby we're in. It's a girl. It's a girl.
Yeah.
Okay, like I know you're probably like a 13-year-old boy, but girls, there are other girls out there playing this game.
And that is
I know because I see them and I hear them on their mics, and I feel like they need to calm down. They just need to calm down, and they need to realize that this is harassment.
well, yeah.
They need to know a line.
I mean, today
Yeah.
it seems like in today's society, the lines,
an
especially
issue.
with the internet and all that, the lines are just not drawn
Mhm.
there, and it's they're
Yeah,
so how
they
do you
can
enforce
hide
them?
behind their computer screens or their monitors or the controllers, and they can say whatever they want, and they don't feel like they are, crossing any sort of line, or that they're, stalking or harassing, or, you know, any of that sort of thing. They just don't even realize they're even doing it, or they don't
Yeah,
care.
that's probably an age thing too, because the young
Yeah.
kid,
To some extent, but
Definitely.
I've heard,
hopefully as they get
I've
older.
still heard a handful of people who are older than me and old, at least as old as me too. It is still out there. I mean, to put it, I'll just put this out there. I've known Kashta for many years. Miss Atomic Bomb and I have been together for roughly 10 years. So I've, I'm not a female gamer, but I've seen a lot of these interactions and all that, and I've seen it from different ages, I mean, everything. And there are certainly plenty of gamers out there who are cool who don't do that. And I will say that both Kashta and Miss Atomic Bomb are they're very solid, stable people, so it's not like this kind of stuff really gets to them, and they don't ever get upset about it. But it sucks. I mean, it shouldn't be a thing.
It gets old.
What I can't understand about it. Okay, so obviously, I mean, you guys know, everyone knows this isn't just a gaming thing. This is gender in society. It's a
No,
thing.
it's not.
I can at least understand some aspects in the world as far as there are people who have issues with females shouldn't be firemen, they shouldn't be police officers, they shouldn't be in the military. Without getting political, my personal lick on that is I don't care so long as that female can carry the heaviest dude, do the same stuff. When it's a life-threatening kind of a job, they need to be able to perform the same as a male. That's my only thing. I mean, there's that whole men typically
I agree
have
with you
more
totally on that,
upper
Lacey.
body strength, but otherwise, those are the only situations where I can understand it. Males are not better at computers, at any technology. They're not better with their emotional stability. These aren't things that they, yes, males typically have better upper body strength, but not, are more mechanical or are more better gamers. Those things just aren't there.
Yeah,
It's
but you
not how
need
it
that. You
works.
need that to push keys on the keyboard, though.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. I can't make sense of it, and I don't understand why it's there. And I think you had talked about it in our last episode, Kashta, where you may not have been exactly saying that, but basically, if you are looking to ask a question about a video game and you see a guy and a girl both in the same section, you're going to go to the guy. And I'll tell you right now, Miss Atomic Bomb will always kick my ass at World of Warcraft. I will never be able to kick her ass at World of Warcraft. She kicks the shit out of me at it. Back when I used to play Call of Duty, we were about neck and neck. Kashta, she will kick my ass at Galaga forever. She will always be able to kick my ass at Galaga. I mean, she was out when they first made the first arcade machine, but
Shut up. Just shut up.
I mean, so
I think that you
just
just
doesn't
put
make sense.
something that I kind of wanted to comment on. Given even the topic is and given the stories I shared too, talking about my experiences and everything, I've got to say, when I compare to online gaming to the general online presence, what I see in blogs and the real violent kind of things, comments that I see to women saying things, I feel that the online gaming community is much more, they're ahead of the online community in general.
Yes.
I feel
I agree.
that even though we still have got some shortcomings, there is a common interest and a common good, and there's tons of good support too. So while I have had those negative experiences and have to make some adjustments, compared to real world and the rest of the online stuff, I think gaming is pretty good. Online gaming community is pretty solid.
They might be a bit ahead
That's
of the
good.
curve
That's
compared
good
to
to
the rest
see.
of society, but I'm not sure how much I was saying. Any last thoughts on that before we move on?
Well, I think it's changing, but it's changing slowly. But it ties into society in general. It's not just an isolated thing, and so it's going to change. It has to change, and it will change. But let's hope it's quicker rather than later.
Agreed.
Agreed. I'm just glad to be. Craft gaming is the best. I mean, I love it.
Yeah.
Everyone in here is
Yeah, of course it
so
is.
awesome to be with. Share ideas, and I never have to think about, yeah, I can't say that, or I can't. Because the other thing too is I don't think that it's bad for where we give each other a hard time.
Oh, yeah.
If we're playing a game and Rad tells me, well, get off your fat ass and get over here, I don't take that as harassment, because the next line might be, Talos, if your penis was bigger, it would you'd be better at this game.
We almost made
So
it
part
through a
of it is
video
the
without
ribbing
mentioning my
stuff, that's okay.
penis. I just gotta say, we almost made
I was
it.
just thinking that.
Didn't watch you down.
Oh, yeah. No, yeah, I mean,
Yep.
we're
Definitely.
not the only community. There's plenty of other communities out there that are very supportive of. I will say that we here, and again, many other communities, we don't really. We've definitely got a low tolerance on discrimination. Just a heads up for anyone who decides to join craft gaming. We're open door for anybody, but don't do that. That'll get you out of here fast. Anyway,
And I've been a
Very
part of some
fast.
guilds too that were like that too. So
Yep.
that you need a good community is awesome.
yeah, absolutely. So moving on from that.
I've got all misty-eyed now.
Did you? Moving on from that, we're going to talk about something that I'm trying to remember when it was actually announced, but it's somewhat recent, although probably most anyone who's watching it is aware of it. Is Steam now has this refund deal where there's, it is, if you've played the game for 14 days or less and have 2 or less hours of gameplay, you can refund it. And I
Yeah,
believe it's a
that's
full
right.
refund, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
and
for any reason.
Yeah. And they do have like a couple little things. Hey, if we see you abusing this, you'll be like blacklisted from that ability or whatever. I think, but I think it's really cool. I think it's a little weird that we haven't had that before, because Origin, of all things, which I can't believe I'm going to say something nice about Origin because I fucking hate it, even though I do have it. Origin had a refund thing before Steam did. It's pretty surprising that it took them this long. And I'll bring up some things that I've seen in the community, or seen that are like negative. There's some weird negative things, but what do you guys think? I didn't mean to cut you off there, Rad, but...
No, I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry. No, I think they're being forced to by the lot of the players coming on here, and when they have to sell their games through Steam, I think they're being forced to bring some form of refund policy in. But one thing it does stick in the craw: if you buy a game for someone as a gift, you can't refund it. It can't be refunded.
That's kind of...
And if you buy it for yourself, this sort of situation. So do it first, buy it for yourself. If you like it, then buy it for someone else, then you're okay. But that's a safe way out of doing that anyway.
It's weird that they can't do that, by the way, because you're buying it. I mean, it's not like they can't trace the transaction. I mean, I guess there's a little bit of...
Yeah,
Do you think they might...
Yeah, I don't know.
Do you think they might change that though? This is a new policy that they might... Because
They
I
could. I mean,
agree, Rad. That
it's
should be
brand
a
new,
place
so-
where they do that.
I would be surprised to see them not
hopefully
implement
do.
that eventually. I would be surprised to see them not implement that. Just how long, I don't know.
It's good to see them bring up the policy. I mean, you see it to be tested how well it will actually work in real life when someone actually does go for refunds, but it's nice to know the policy is there. In fact, I wasn't even aware they didn't have some form of refund, actually, the truth.
Well, and before you could, and you still can, unless they decide, no, we're not going to do that now that we have a refund policy, you could submit a ticket they don't like, for some reason, a lot of people don't know this, or not for some reason, a lot of people don't know this because they don't really advertise it. But you can open a ticket and submit to them and kind of explain it. I've done it once before, or a couple times before, but I've done it once before and got a refund, even though I had, I think it was like 36 hours in the game or whatever. Basically, it was a situation where I could no longer play the game because of what was done to it. And it was a lot of back and forth, but I did eventually get a refund and all that. I would say they made it pretty clear if it was any more hours, they probably wouldn't refund it no matter what because you got your money's worth at some point. But, and I think you still could do it if it's over that time.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
This kind of ties in what we were talking about earlier, microtransactions. You may get people buying games through Steam and playing for a period of time and get stuck with these microtransactions, think, I don't want this game anymore because of this. You may see a lot of that sort of stuff starting to happen as far as refunds through Steam now as well.
You may. But I mean, keeping in mind that
point.
it's only 14 days and only 2 hours. Anything beyond that, I would still say try to do a submit a ticket. There's definitely not a guarantee. It's basically submitting a ticket for that is essentially look at it like you're asking them to make an exception. I know of other people that have done it, and it hasn't been that big of a deal. I'm curious to see how that'll change now that they actually have a refund system. Maybe they won't even do it at all. I don't know.
Yeah, but with the microtransactions, sometimes you could be more than 2 hours into a game before you encounter the first one.
Well, that's what
and
I'm
let's
saying,
face
is
it, they
they could get
don't
around it.
advertise at the start of the game.
No.
Yeah, they don't advertise at the start of the game, hey, you're going to be smacked with 6 or 7 microtransactions throughout this game and charge you an extra so-and-so, so-and-so. They don't tell you that until you're actually in the game. So just say, it's a new policy come out. They may have to fine-tune things and alter a few
of
things
course.
to
And we should all,
people's needs.
hopefully everyone will cut them some slack on that. It's a new thing out, and it's going to have some kinks in it.
I agree. I applaud the fact they have a refund policy. I really do.
Yep.
I agree. I think that they have to have something in place that's a set, easy thing to do that you're not haggling for, just because this is online, right? It's an online system, so someone can hack your account, they make a purchase.
Yep.
It just seems like it's in line with other companies to handle the unauthorized purchase kind of section.
Yep.
I think they're a little behind on having a refund policy.
Good God, yes.
So I think that helps support Steam, like confidence in using Steam and buying games there. And the other thing, I wonder what you guys think of, and maybe it's not enough hours. I'm wondering if this helps them keep competitive with, and maybe people aren't doing this anymore. I don't know, where you can go rent a game to see if you like it. So it gives you a teeny bit of try before you buy and maybe it's to see my system could do it.
I think GameFly's still around,
that shop
right?
there?
Oh, I guess you can Redbox. You can
know.
Redbox rent games. I just don't know why. I don't know. Maybe people do. I'm interested to see how it impacts the, alpha games and all that, and maybe gives. I mean, we should always give. If you're getting a green light, an early alpha game, you should know what you're getting yourself into. But it's nice to know that if we get in and it's clear that's holy crap, this is a mess. And maybe they'll get their shit together, but it certainly doesn't look like it. But I'm not really willing to gamble on it that far. I'll take my money back.
What's the number of of gameplay? How many hours of gameplay did they say again you can have before you return it?
2.
So if you go over 2, and I'm
that's
wondering how much
short.
it is, and I'm wondering if they'll tweak that. I'm also wondering how much, for example, Rad, when we started up, but when we used to have Arma, Alta's Life, it's like it's a role play. For those who don't know, it's a very strict role playing kind of a game, or at least the server was. So you have to give very strict rules and outline rules. It doesn't necessarily mean we always are 100% sticking to those with no leeway. But I don't know how they're really going to handle it. And as we've all said, it'll need some fine tuning probably.
Right, and I'm sure.
I read.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Okay. What was I saying?
Kashta, you go ahead.
I'm kind of
Look what I did to her.
One reason why maybe that the gameplay is so short is that maybe they're afraid of people taking advantage of it.
Yes.
Especially with some games certainly being rather short, maybe people rushing through gameplay, maybe trying to play all the way
that is a
through
big
and
debate that's
refunding
going on.
it. Because, there will always be those people who take advantage of the system. And, hopefully it doesn't affect it so much where it will ruin it for everybody else, because I definitely think that this was a very positive thing for them to do.
Yeah, and they made it pretty clear that they have
that doesn't happen.
A system to, or at least have the, they will say, hey, you're abusing the system, you don't get to get refunds anymore. I mean, it sounds a little harsh, but I mean, if you're abusing the system, and people are always going to abuse the system, and that was a big, and so we'll go ahead and lead into talking a little further. When I saw this, I saw like Steam community and comments and reading things, where there were a lot of negativity and a lot of positivity, but there was a lot of negativity for things like you're talking about, as far as what about people who are abusing the system, and I'm gonna, beat my game in 2 hours, which I'm not sure how many there are like that, but sure, they are out there, and some of them are good. Journey was a short game, but beautiful. So there's a lot of talk about that, speed run gaming and all that. I don't know that Steam's really that concerned about that, or Valve is rather, but another thing that was really negative about it, and I was really confused by it, is people were just like, well, RIP independent developers. I'm like, really? I mean, I think that most of the early access games I have
destroy independent developers?
Yeah, most of the early access games I have, I may not play all the time, but I'm confident in them. I still keep them. I don't play 7 days to die all the time, but I mean, that game's constantly updating and they're working. I think I would say RIP to early access that they don't really plan on going anywhere with. There definitely are games out there. They're just like quickly trying to get some money, but they don't really intend to do anything with. I'm sure you guys have seen those games.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things like that. There's a lot of that negativity that doesn't make sense, and I guess that's just because it's the internet, right? But
right.
There's
and I mean,
another thing where people were talking about that this is going to be the end of Steam sales now, because Steam sales exist because they don't give refunds. I'm like, no.
Oh, rubbish.
That's stupid. No.
Yeah.
I mean, when you have something like Steam that has just so many games on it, especially so many indie games, you really just have no idea. You can read a description, you can look at, screen caps of gameplay, maybe a trailer, but you really have no idea what you could be getting sometimes. It is, and having this, if it's not your style, then that's okay. It gives you another chance to maybe find something that maybe you were picking from two and one didn't work out. Well, now you can try the other one, and now you're happy and that person's happy and Steam still gets their money and everybody's happy and everybody's good. So, I mean, in a perfect world,
Yeah.
I think if I'm Rad and I paid $99.95
Yeah.
for a game that I can beat in 2 hours, I want my money back.
Oh yeah, that's true.
There are a few exceptions. I mentioned Journey.
But going
that's
on
the only one
going
I
on
can
that
think
sort of thing. Yeah, and I'm pleased I got a refund policy. I had a game. I won't mention the name of the game. It was very valid. It was a beautiful game. It was a Dungeons and Dragons type game. I bought from Steam. This was about 6 months ago, maybe a little bit longer. And it was bugged. And it was bugged because the forums had the same bug. And on the last boss of the end of the game, you had to kill this boss, then walk 2 spaces and you won the game. And as he died, the game crashed. And it did it every time for everyone. Honestly, if it played 14, 15 hours or whatever it was really length of time and it crashed. And so many comments on the forums about that. And again, with Steam no refund policy, you couldn't get back. And they checked on the forums and the developer was not developing the game anymore. He'd given up on it. So there was no recourse to fix it. The only way to get any recourse would be a refund. And that stage, Steam had not got a refund. So for those sort of situations where people are generally wanting to finish the game, they can't, and it's bugged, regardless of the 2-hour thing, I'm sure Steam would say, well, there's a problem with the game. Of course you're going to get a refund, this sort of situation. And the mere fact they've got a refund policy now, it's got to be good news for everyone. As far as the death of Steam sales, I think quite the opposite.
Yeah.
If you've got a guarantee if there's a problem with the game, I think people will be more reassured to buy through Steam. I like Steam, the fact that I can change a computer or a hard drive could go down and lose my games, but I can get them straight back down again because they know I've owned them, this sort of thing. So, no, I think Steam's going to go from strength to strength. And I assure you, before they came out with this policy, there was a table full of lawyers sitting around discussing the ramifications of putting this on, I assure you. So they know which way they're going. They know they're not going to lose too many sales. It's got to be a plus. And I applaud them for having one.
Yep. I applaud them, and I shake my finger a little bit for taking so long, but I applaud them overall. I'm glad to see it, and I'm usually almost always happy with Steam and Valve.
Yeah.
I agree.
I'm not happy with Valve.
Something I heard one of my friends say at one point, somebody was talking about, this policy is really taken advantage of. People manipulate it or people abuse this one policy. And my friend's like, well, it's kind of like being nice. If you're a nice person, some people are going to take advantage of that, but you don't stop being nice. So I don't think you can look at, well, some people will take advantage of, therefore we should eliminate something.
Yeah. And like Brad is saying, I can assure you they're aware of that. And it's still
Yes.
not going to impact them. Not versus that. And going way back to what we were talking about in the beginning, and it's very important, adding loyalty, adding more customer loyalty, and that always pays in dividends.
Oh, it does, because people may whine and say, it doesn't mean anything, but deep down it does. If someone's loyal to you and they'll give you the support and everything, you'll stick with them, full stop. If they put their money up or their prices up by 10%, whatever, you'll still stick with them because you know you've got the backup and support. It goes through all societies and all walks of society, so I think it's a very prominent thing.
Okay. Any final thoughts on that topic, guys?
I still think Valve, talking about Steam and Valve, I think they need to change their pricing a little bit, especially people such as Australians and New Zealanders, what have you.
Yep, agreed.
You'll buy a game there for $60. Even with the class and the rate of exchange in your account, we're still getting screwed. We'll pay $20 for the same sort of game, and I assure you our dollar is not that weak. Some games are fine, and some games aren't. I approached Steam about it in a rather concerned letter. They came back saying, we do not set the prices, Valve do. So basically is a Valve thing. So sometimes they try and get what they can out of the colonies, to put it bluntly. But generally it's not too bad, but there are some games that we pay through the nose for no reason other than the fact that they can.
Yeah, I'm surprised that we have as much with the globalization of marketplaces now. It's so much more of a flat kind of setup that there's still so many different. Now I can see if something is a little bit more because they're developing something on another system or what, but I just don't see the justification for the price differences that you've been talking about, Rad.
No, there isn't any. We're downloading from the same sites you are, and okay, it's in a different currency. You work on the rate of exchange. Even working that back, it's still we're paying another $20 more for certain things, only because we can. If we're getting something shipped here and there's freight involved, okay, fine, but there isn't. It's purely just a download, and we pay for the download as well through our own ISPs. So there is no justification for it on some games. Some games it's perfect. You work it back and it's just purely the rate of exchange, and that's fine. But other games,
seems pretty rare, though, getting screwed out of my experience of gaming with you, and since we've known each other, it seems like you generally are.
It is getting rarer. It is getting rarer, but it was before. It was quite prominent before in some things, but it is getting rarer as these people setting the prices realise it's all transparent. They can be seen to be trying to screw us. So it is getting rarer, and it's good to see. It's good. But Valve are setting these prices, not Steam. So people who, if you are having these sort of issues, we are getting blatantly overcharged, etc. It is not Steam. It is Valve who set the prices behind the scenes. So
is that where we're sending our letters?
Right.
I sent them to Steam, and Steam put me in the right direction. Yeah.
That's interesting. I did not know that. Fuck you, Valve. No, but yeah, no, that's hopefully it gets better.
There goes our Valve sponsorship.
Yeah, that's not building.
And the tone of the letter coming back is Steam obviously were quite concerned about this as well, because they would take quick to say, no, it's not us, it's Valve. So I don't think I was the first letter to be sent. Let's just put it that way.
Well, that's cool.
But otherwise, no, I think it's a good service. Very good service. There are a lot worse out there, I assure you of that. So Steam in general, I think, is pretty good indeed.
Yeah, they do pretty good. Okay. Well, on that note, we're going to wrap this up, and as always, we've got a hat. We're going to pull a topic out, community suggestions, hopefully better than last episodes.
I'm nervous.
Me too. We got some decent ones now, and I'll actually start putting them on the in the video. I say that, watch it be a nightmare if something go wrong. I wrote too small. Bear with me.
I'm not going to say it.
Okay. All right, so Woody, who is a member of our community, Woody has given us this one. Most underrated and overrated game that you've played and why. We can shorten it or alter it slightly, but you have the floor, guys.
Oh, first that comes to mind is Elder Scrolls Online. Sorry, not Elder Scrolls Online. Skyrim Online. There's a big hype about that, and from all I've heard of it. The people I know who have played it, I have not played it myself, okay, so I'm only going from what I've heard. People I know that have played it said it's, the hype is definitely far bigger than the actual reality of the situation. They reckon it's missing a lot. It's basically it just hasn't got there. It's there, but it just hasn't got there. There's so much more that could have been done, and the hype was it would have been that way. Yeah. Now on the other side of the coin, the most anticipated and hyped game, GTA 5, and the reality of that is worth the money. It really is. We're paying the same sort of around about $90 here for it in New Zealand, but it is worth the money. So you get both sides of the spectrum. But as far as underrated, that's the one I've heard about lately. Anyways, that one is Elder Scrolls Online.
Yeah, that's a good example. As much of a Bethesda fanatic as I am, not real excited about that one. And it was very, very overrated and way overhyped.
I mean, you've got to market a game, obviously, but I think they marketed it.
They might have shot themselves in the foot a little bit there, and I'm sure that
Just a tad.
people getting overexcited and people imagining it being Skyrim, the same as Elder Scrolls Skyrim, probably didn't help either. It just, I've always said
Well,
Bethesda's
it's
the
called the
risk
same
takers.
thing, so
and
you'd imagine it would be.
they're risk takers, and it was definitely a swing and a miss. Although it's better than it was, from what I understand. What about the rest of you
Yeah,
guys?
I have a hard time with this one. Yeah, I have a hard time with this one because I'm cheap as hell. So before I buy a game,
The most
I do a lot.
Yeah.
she makes the most money out of probably anyone in this community, and she's cheap
That's
as
so
hell.
not true. Stop that rumor. But that's. But before I'm
you?
buying a game, and I mean, even I'm not paying $99.95 or whatever, it's still a lot. I really look at it a bunch and try to see. I look at forums and craft gaming or whatever gaming community you're involved with. Kind of pick each other's brains and see what they like and what they like about it. So I don't think that I've really bought a game where I was like, ugh, that was like not worth what I paid for it.
Well, but this is, I think what he's saying more here is
Have your
like-
expectations been met by the hype, basically?
yeah, or a game, yeah, basically you played a game that was supposed to be really good and it wasn't, or you played a game that almost no one talks about, and you're like, why? Because this is a great game. Which I have more experiences of that than the other way around.
Yeah, I think I play a lot of like games, and I used to rent more just to kind of try them out,
back
and
in the day.
I think the hype. Yeah, the hype, I kind of just tune that out. I don't watch a lot of commercials. I don't see as much of that. I mean, the most I heard really with Grand Theft Auto, there's tons on that, but it's a really good game. So I think I can't think of one I played and I went, wow, that sucks. Or that really doesn't meet up to what they spent on that. I don't even know the name of it. I see a lot of ads for it. It's one of those free microtransaction-y thing, and it's
I don't know.
and I can't even think of the name of it. It's one where it's basically you're building up sort of an empire, but the ad for it is always this half-naked girl. So
Oh,
back
yeah,
to the
yeah.
female
the
gamer
one with
thing
Kate
and
Upton in it?
objectification of women.
Yeah, Kate Upton's
What
in
is
it.
it called?
What is that? I don't know, but Kate Upton's in it.
Oh, it's like
And boobs.
something of war.
Yes,
of
Something
war.
more godly
and
now.
the naked lady things that they show, or the mostly naked, have nothing to do with the game. So that one,
And
I
like
don't-
her
I didn't even
armor
look
is
at.
made out of like tinfoil. Like what is this? She's
Her
like half
armor
naked. Yeah,
covers up way too
that'll
much.
shield you from those arrows.
Yeah, I mean, so those are the ones where I look at it and go, I don't know what I mean, advertising's really not working for me, but since this has nothing to do with the game, because some of the ads seem very, like, suggesting this is going to be something completely different, so anybody who bought that one's going to be disappointed. But I just
Oh,
haven't
yeah.
really had that happen.
No, they suggest, it's all aimed at males. They suggest, hey, you buy this game, you can get on a game and have free sex with everyone. That's basically what they're aiming at.
Right, and
Oh.
all the girls that look like that will love you.
Yeah, exactly.
Wait a
forever.
minute, what's the name of this
That's
game? I
real
gotta go
life,
get it
isn't it?
right now.
Hey,
Hey,
let's face it,
hey.
we're adults, sex sells, and their
It does.
marketing's still in the marketplace for everything, and that's what they do. Simple as that. They won't ever stop doing it. So you have to take it with a grain of salt. Read if you like a game, guys, and you see it on forums, read the comments. The people who have played it, etc. Again,
Agreed.
you're going to have to make your own discernment on that. There are some people just don't like it for the sake they don't like it, but read
Yeah.
all the comments. And look at the comments that people have played more than half an hour, if you know what I mean, on there. Look at the people who have played for a length of time, got into the game, and read the comments. And if the comments are still, yeah, it's not too bad, then buy your game. Don't go by the manufacturer's hype. They're there to sell the game, and they will sell the game. Regardless how good or bad the game is, they want to sell it. That's their job. Your job is to look at the comments of the poor schmucks that have bought it and go through and find out whether it's right for you. And that's the only advice I can really give.
Yeah,
As far as
Yeah,
gaming and new games.
Absolutely, and tagging on to that, it's find people that have similar taste to yours. It's almost like when you're looking for a movie, there's a million different reviewers, and you kind of watch the ones that end up liking the movies that you like. So if you look at a blog or something that that reviews games, find one that you're kind of in sync with, and really do the research. And unless you're not super cheap, and then go ahead and willy-nilly buy them.
Right, right. Yeah, I can't say. I've been trying to think. I'm having a hard time thinking of specific ones, which means Woody must have
Well, you
picked
shouldn't
a
be
good
able
topic
to if you've done your research properly. Yeah.
Yeah, and I
If
am.
you've done research
Yeah.
properly, you shouldn't have been booed.
I'm
a few
careful
times.
with.
It should be
you
okay.
know, my Scottish is showing. I'm careful with money, so I don't usually do that kind of stuff. I'm trying to think. Okay. As far as overrated, and I'm sure I'll get hate for this, or some people will strongly disagree with me. That's awesome. That's fine. Mod Nation was hyped up as like very different because it was different from Mario Kart and all that. Mod Nation was hyped up for I think it's on PlayStation, right? Anyway, and I think it sucks. Sorry, it's got some redeemable qualities, but on the whole, I don't like it at all. I was like, well, why is this so hyped up? That's about the only thing I can think of where something that was overrated, and I'm not sure. I think it still qualifies. It's not like everyone was talking about it, but it's considered people. It did well, and people spoke very highly of it. I might be outside of the age bracket for it, though. I got the feeling that there was a younger crew there, really. But yeah, I was overrated.
And another thing with games too, I don't know if the listeners realise it. If they're playing a game and they like it, there's certain things that just aren't right and aren't. Note on the forums for the developers' website, they do read those forums and they can do mods to change things and add things to the game. So don't just say, oh, this is a heap of junk, they're not doing that, and jump off. Give the courtesy of the developers to hear your feelings, and they can change things and updates, and usually it's free updates, and they can make the game better. And they're quite keen to look at people's comments and do that for that reason, because they don't want people to stop buying or using their game. Because yourself, if you're looking to buy a game, you read the comments, and if you read the comments of other people saying it doesn't do this, doesn't do that, you won't buy it. They do not want that. So yeah, please give the developers a chance to amend things. If they don't, even after people have done that, then okay, you give them a shot, and they don't want to, fine, it's a heap of junk game, but give them a chance. That's all I say.
That's fair. That's fair.
That is such a great comment, Rad, because and we don't kind of always think about putting ourselves in that other person's position. When you think about developers, they cannot possibly think of every single playing style, every single, every single person. Yeah. So some things they just don't think of. It's not that they meant to not include something like that. They just didn't think of it. But that's really good feedback, I think.
I try.
You were just wonderful.
Oh, Lord.
I'm very trying.
Well, Mab, do you have any game you can think to file in there? I really would like to have that.
Because she's good at everything.
I can't think of any good underrated games. Again, it comes from kind of being careful with money and trying to examine shit to the nth degree. Oh, no, never mind. I didn't buy that. I'm not going to throw that. I thought of a game that was terrible, but I forgot I didn't buy it. That's for that reason.
I mean, I don't really... Gosh, I have no idea. I really don't spend much money on games either.
We here at Craft Gaming are a bunch of cheap ass bastards.
Young 20-year-olds on a budget, So,
no, in theory, you shouldn't think of anything. You shouldn't be able to think of anything. In an ideal world, you shouldn't be buying games that are crap. The developers should have done their jobs, and they should be okay. And that's good to see that you can't think of too many like that, because they shouldn't be out there, because you're spending good money on these things.
Yeah.
And only now Steam have got a refund policy. So up till now, you've been buying on someone's comments, and if it's bad, you're being burned. So it's good to see you can't remember anything off the top of your head.
I think that this group is super. I mean, Mab, I know, is super eclectic on types of games, where we just love games and we just play so many different types of games. So this might be something good for the comments of, just what people have experienced of where they were disappointed.
Yeah, and I mean, I've certainly experienced my share of bad games, but to qualify them as overrated or underrated before I got them, I can't really do that. I think Thief had some hype going for it when it came out. The new Thief, or not new, but newest Thief came out, and I really love Thief. I don't remember which one it was. I remember playing it on Xbox 360 or Xbox. I can't remember which one. Mab, you know which one I'm talking about. That was really cool. So there was some hype, overrated hype for Thief, and Thief kind of As much as I love Bethesda, it was kind of, crap. But, again, it's few and far between.
What I'd be cautious of is the, say for example, Thief, but the Thief 2s and the Thief 3s that come out, the sequels. That's where they've got something to live up to, and that's where they can sometimes fall down. So you've got to be careful about those sort of ones.
Well, that's basically what
new games
this last
coming
Thief
out.
was.
Just,
'Cause they had one already.
Yeah, but new ones come out. Just look at the comments of anyone that's played it previously. Very hard when you're buying a new game that no one's played previously. You've got to go on the hype. In that case, get on the internet and read some reviews of any reviewers that have had the game early and had a look at it, this sort of thing, and just make your own judgment call.
Yep.
Yeah, it might not be what you're looking for, but you can only do what you can only do. But yeah, do your research. Don't just get a game, so that looks good, and buy it, because it may not be what you want.
That's as much as your job as it is the developer to
Yeah.
create a good game.
And I personally like getting games where I have almost no knowledge of. Like for instance, God, what is that game that you got me for Christmas?
I did something good? Oh, wow.
Yes, the one that I
What?
played nonstop, and now I can't remember its name.
The Little Big Planet?
Is
It
it
had
a
Ellen
memorable game,
Page
isn't it?
as William
Oh.
Dafoe.
Willem Dafoe, not William, or whatever you just said.
Yes,
Beyond
sorry.
Two Souls, is that it?
Yes. Yes, I knew nothing about that game going in. I had no expectations at all, and I loved it and couldn't stop playing it. And I think that I kind of prefer it that way, not hearing anything,
Yeah.
so I can kind of make my own decisions on...
Yeah, and when I bought it,
You know-
on my end as the purchaser, I researched the hell
Yeah.
out of it before I bought it. So even then, it was still kind of a gamble, but it worked out. apparently.
Aw,
And,
that's sweet.
Oh god,
Yeah.
don't even
And
pretend.
like another one, that comes to mind is when my sister got me Alice, Madness Returns. I knew
Mhm.
nothing about the game. She just knows I love Alice in Wonderland.
That was good. It was really
And
good.
that game is fantastic,
It's
and I love
freaking
that
awesome.
game, and I got platinum on it, and I play it nonstop, and I still play it, and it's just
I got
those
platinum on
types
it.
of things. I know.
She
I
rocks
worked
at
really hard on
everything.
that because I had to play the PlayStation 1 too, and get all the trophies on that
Oh
too.
yeah, they had the gold.
Yeah,
video.
that brings up a very valid point. You should believe
Yeah.
all reviews you
Yeah.
see, because it will taint your feelings towards the game. But if there's some nasty reviews that it's really a junk game, then okay, steer away from it. But otherwise, yeah, make your own mind up. Use discernment on the reviews.
Yep.
If you still want to get the game, get it. But please don't be too swayed by other people's opinions of it, because at the end of the day, you may love this game and you may want to do it, and it just might ruin your fun even before you bought it. But yeah, that's one of the things you look out for as well.
All right.
Yeah, it sort of parallels movies, right? You see movies, they're advertised, and oh, this is the greatest movie. Those I always end up disappointed in.
Not
Something
always,
that's
but
the
yeah,
biggest hype. Like Forrest Gump. I saw it when it first came out, and then all the hype, and I thought, wow, if I had seen it now, I would be disappointed.
Sure.
Yeah, but life is like a box of chocolates. You don't know what you're going to get.
There
I'm
it
gonna
is.
get someone to do that.
All right. As much as I want to keep talking, I actually do. I forgot I will mention that my original love for Bethesda started with Fallout 3 because I knew nothing about it when I bought it. It had a cool poster. I rented it. I was with you, Mav. Rented
That's
from
right.
Blockbuster.
We were.
Because Blockbuster was a thing.
Yeah,
then
and
still.
they had a.
And I looked at you and I said,
They
"It's
had
got a
giant
big
cutout.
It's got a big. It was of one of the Brotherhood of Steel, a paladin of the Brotherhood of Steel, and I'm like, it's got a big cardboard cutout. It's got to be good, and it was.
Nice.
So that's
Oh,
it. There
one
we go.
one
That's
quick
my-
comment about
Well,
One
yeah.
quick comment about Fallout. I did say the game wasn't for me. The only reason it wasn't for me is the gameplay. There was nothing wrong with the game. Graphics were fine. Gameplay was fine. There was no bugs. I had no problems with the game whatsoever. I just lost interest in it for my own view.
Sure. No, there's
So
it's not
if
for
anyone's
not for
thinking
everyone.
about Fallout, it's a great game.
Although typically there's quite a bit of bugs in their thing, but yeah, they're not horrible all the time. Anyway, I let this run too long, but for those of you who made it all the way through, thanks for hanging out with us for a bit. And we're definitely thinking about either streaming this or podcast or something like that. So let us know what you think about that. I know that if I go back and listen to these things, I usually do it on my phone while I'm doing some chores, and it's kind of cool to have some voices in the background. I do that with other podcasts and things like that. Anyway, guys.
What, you mean listening to my inane dribble?
Oh, well, I have you with some of your choice quotes on loop that, help me sleep at
Nice.
night.
Must be.
I can't sleep at night unless I have my rad. I got a little...
Oh gosh.
Okay.
Don't you feel lucky, Red?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
You started something you probably
Just have
shouldn't
to keep
have.
looking over my shoulder now.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think I'm a bit shorter than you, so yeah. Anyway, not that that's related. That's our time, guys, and that is our show. And remember, cool cats, that when it comes to gaming, If you aren't having fun, you're doing it wrong, baby. Good night, everyone.
Night.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. The doctor, after an examination, sighed and said, "We've got some bad news. You have cancer and you best put your fears in order." The woman was shocked but managed to compose herself and walk into the waiting room where her daughter had been waiting. "Well, daughter, we women celebrate when things are good and we celebrate when things don't go so well. In this case, things aren't well. I have cancer, so let's head... Oh shit, sorry, scroll off the screen. Let's head to the club and have a martini." After 3 or 4 martinis, the two were feeling a little less sober. There were some laughs and more martinis. They were eventually approached by some of the woman's old friends who were curious as to what the two were celebrating. The woman told her friends that they were drinking to her impending end of being diagnosed with AIDS. The friends were aghast, gave the woman their condolences and beat a hasty retreat. After the friends left, the woman's daughter leaned over and whispered, "Mama, I thought you were dying of cancer. You just told your friends you were dying of AIDS. Why did you do that?" "Because I don't want any of those bitches sleeping with your father after I'm dead." And
Holy
that,
shit.
my friend, is what is called putting your affairs in order.
Fuck yeah.
That's awesome.
It is.